It's quite a life for Christian Gigi Gusenbauer, an Austrian retiree and resort operator in the Lark Key range, who most days is treated to views like this. But all that nearly changed on Friday night when Christian was forced to barricade himself inside his home, daring to peep through shattered glass at the gunmen who had come to rob and perhaps kill him. It's at this point that most people would call the police. But Gigi, as he's known in Placencia, made a social media cry for help. His first post said, "Help, I get shot," followed by, "I'm shot," and then, "Police." And as desperation sets in, he asks whether anyone was coming. And it was possible that at that very moment, in the midst of a Friday night quiet dinner, that Chabilmar manager Chris Rothing saw Gigi's post.
I was working late and at my office, and I saw the post on Facebook. And my friend Christopher Rothing came running downstairs from the restaurant upstairs, and we called, and then we confirmed that it was indeed true that he has been shot. It was a really scary situation. The sea was really, really rough, and we were all soaked, including the police officers when we got there. That boat captain was an absolute rock star. So when we got there, I shined the flashlight into his bedroom window, and we saw him alive in there. So that was the biggest sigh of relief. His perspective that he said to me is if he had contacted one person directly, he had to wait for one person that may or may not have been available. He said the quickest way to get a response was to go to Facebook on his own page because he's friends with everybody. He's such a nice person. So everybody got it immediately. So instead of him having to wait for a specific person to contact him, he knew that the entire village will be on this immediately.
We got out there and I stayed on the boat with 2 police officers and the captain, while Christo and another 2 police officers went into the house. And then when they brought Gigi back, I then stepped in as like a sort of first aid initiative and just kept him warm and held him, kept him warm and put pressure on the wounds, and then held him until we got back so that because he was cold and in shock and stuff and just needed to be held and pressure to be put on his wounds. I think it was one bullet that shattered into 20-something pieces, and they were only able to remove some of the pieces in the surgery.
It's an injury that's put Gusenbauer on a bumpy road to recovery. Still, he's lucky to be alive, and this morning, the commissioner called him a brave soul and also commended his rescuers.
I will commend Mr. Christian himself for being the brave soul that he is. I believe that what he did largely contributed to him saving his own life in terms of going into the bathroom, lock himself in, and was still able to go on social media despite his injury and share his experience with the world. And so we were able to get that information. And then to the police officers who responded, the sea was extremely rough that night. And the citizens who assisted the police in getting out there, despite the roughness of the sea, I think we owe them a great deal of gratitude.
I wasn't alone. I called all of my friends and all of them stepped up and everybody did their own part. I've lived in a few countries all over the world, and I have been to a few countries, and I have never seen a community pulled together like that. The feeling of everything is going to be okay. Living here, the sense of camaraderie between locals and expats and everything, that was really humbling.
The cops say that at this point, they're looking for named suspects.
But in terms of addressing the whole issue of sea piracy, just last week, we conducted a number of operations in the south, geared at going after these persons who we believe are involved in sea piracy.
Placencia is not only the peninsula. Placencia is also all of the little islands that we have out here, and all of the boat captains that we have on the water, and all of the people, the tourists that we have out on the water. And at this point, a community effort together with the backing with the government, I think it's very, very possible for us to put that together. And I think that is what needs to be focused on.
Where was the Coast Guard on Friday night? Why weren't they the first responders?
You know that the Coast Guard base is all the way in Hunting Key. And I believe there's another one on Southwater Key. Those two locations were hours away from where Mr. Christian was at the time. So saving a life was of essence. If we had waited for the Coast Guard, it would have taken too long.
But in all the joy over Gigi's rescue and seemingly successful recovery, we can't forget the heart of the story. That's Gigi's dog, Molly, who at the time of his rescue was thought dead.
I had a suspicion that the dog was not dead because if they had shot the dog, we would have found the body. So when we didn't find the body, when we didn't find the dog, that actually gave us hope that Molly was alive. And then when we went back the following morning, that was confirmed.
I never knew the dog was alive. The information I had, the dog was dead. So being that the dog used to be a part of our family before we gave it to Mr. Gigi, I assumed the dog was dead after his information, right? So I was heading out with a shovel literally to hopefully find the dog's body and bury it. And apparently when I got out there on boat, me just to come out of the spot just before I arrived for the neighbors after they found out what happened. Then the police was there at the same time. They come up the same time, and then so the dog stayed in the mangrove because of all the commotion and what she just went through, right? So she avoided the crowd, and being that they had guns and all of the above, just like what she just went through, she stayed in the mangrove. So I stood around with the police and had some words and conversation with the try to figure out stuff, and then I tell them straight up that I know I leave without the dog, so I have to wait till they leave, and they were more than okay with that. And when they leave, the dog came right out of the mangroves and I sit right by the door, the owner's door, and he wouldn't move. I try to move on. You know me, right? So that's one of the best part of it all. So he wouldn't move out to literally pick her up and take her to the boat and bring her home with her frisbee, which is her favorite toy.
Cherise Halso, 7 News.